Welcome back to Gale Force Winds Season 2. Season 1 in 2021 consisted of 92 episodes, and the stories have inspired a vast cross-section of people. The feedback that Alan and Jerry receive daily was compelling and inspires us to bring so much more to you in 2022. Thank you to those that joined us in Season 1. We continue to explore the journeys of Canadians doing inspiring things.
And welcome to another edition of Gale Force Winds. I'm Alan Dale, and with me as always, my good buddy from the East End of St. John's, Jerry Carew. How are you, Jerry?
Well, I doing well, despite the fact that we're kind of in a semi-lockdown. And what I'm excited about is I first met Caitlin and her team in one of those periods where we weren't in those lockdowns. Caitlin had a great Board of Trade function in her office or area on Topsail Road, and I got to know her team and what her business was all about. And quite frankly, Caitlin, I look forward to exploring it because it's really exciting to hear how you grew the business. So, and I don't have all the details. We're going to delve into that today. So take it away, Alan.
Yeah, Jerry, it's always exciting to be talking to people that are building things and growing businesses and entrepreneurs. There's inspiration here. A lot of good things are happening in and around Atlantic Canada and specifically right in Newfoundland. So without further ado, Caitlin, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you for having me on your podcast. I'm excited to be talking with you guys today. My name is Caitlin Noseworthy, and I own Saltwater Designs, which is a local clothing brand that is mostly known for our sayings on our shirts. Most of them are Newfoundland inspired. We do have some other ones that kind of are geared to not just Newfoundland, but our most popular things come from Newfoundland sayings. So we have a store on Topsail Road. It's our second location we've opened. Currently employing, I don't even know how many people anymore. Last time I counted, it was 40, like close on 40 or just over 40. It's always changing. So yeah, basically, I guess do you want me to start from the beginning or?
Start from the beginning, Caitlin. Where are you from originally?
Okay, so I was born in Yellowknife. My family moved to Calgary when I was 5 or 6, and we lived there for a few years. And then I did most of my growing up in Rocky Mountain House, Alberta, which is an oil town in the middle of nowhere in Alberta. And then when I was 17, I decided that I wanted to go to Memorial University to study business. So I moved here all by myself. My father's from St. John's, so he had a rental property here. So I moved into that and basically started my business degree at MUN. And then I met my husband, and then I decided I want to stay here forever. And then we had our first child, my daughter Blake, that was in 2017. And that was when Saltwater Designs really started. So it started in my basement. My husband was a tradesperson working away in Alberta, Labrador, Ontario, all over. And I was basically home with a 7-month-old, trying to pass the time until he'd come back on maternity leave, just trying to keep myself busy and keep my mind off. Like when you have a child, you tend to like see less and less people. So it could be like being a new mom is like a struggle sometimes. So keeping yourself busy is really what got me through that period. And then it ended up just being that I was making shirts for myself and my daughter just out of fun for a hobby. And my friends started to see them like from mom groups and things like that. And they were wondering where they could get similar shirts. So I was like, well, I'm making them. So they're like, okay, well now my friends and family want them. So like, would you sell them? And I was like, I guess. So I created a Facebook page and that took off. And then that started to get really overwhelming, trying to keep track of orders. I had like notebooks and notebooks full of just like orders written out. People would be like stopping on like flights from Halifax over or Ontario or Alberta to my house when I was living in Airport Heights. And they'd be like knocking on my door at 7 a.m. trying to like pick up orders. So it was crazy. It just like blew up. And then that's when I realized I needed a website. So I created an e-commerce store, and then that took off. And so then I had to hire my first employee, which was one of my friends who I've known for a while just from our past job. And she started working with me, and we started traveling around doing markets all over Newfoundland, different festivals, and doing night markets. And then that's when I realized we needed a storefront. So we opened our first little store on Topsail Road, just across the parking lot from where we are now. It was like an 800 square foot store. And now we're in a spot that's just under 3,000 square foot. And now we're actually planning to expand even more. So it kind of just blew up. I'd like to say that this was the plan all along, but it really wasn't. It was just very like, it just happened really, really fast. So yeah.
Okay, Caitlin, wow.
I told you it was interesting, Alan. I told you, didn't I?
So much to unpack there. And I mean, you can feel the excitement in your voice. Fantastic. So what was, at 17 years old, what was the draw to Newfoundland? I know Dad was from there, but what was your draw to Newfoundland at such a young age?
So like two things, I guess. Well, the fact that like I love Newfoundland, I absolutely have always loved Newfoundland. I always talked about moving here one day. I wanted to be a marine biologist back when I was younger, and I was like, I'm not really into science. But so that was one reason. I just always loved Newfoundland and visiting here with family and stuff. And then at 17, I was like, I kind of want to go as far away from what I know as possible. I want a new experience. I want to move somewhere where I don't know anybody and just start fresh. And like, not that I didn't love growing up in Alberta. I loved my high school. I loved all my friends, but I was really just like craving something new. Right. So I was like, here's my opportunity. I don't have to pay any rent because my dad had a rental here. Right. And then, and he was obviously super happy to know that I wanted to move to Newfoundland, which is where he's from. So yeah. I moved out here, and now my parents are here too. So they actually retired out here. So
wow.
Yeah.
So they followed you back.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I need to retire in BC. So then I started having kids, and they were like, okay, we better be close to the grandkids. So
that's fantastic. Caitlin, tell me now, you're a new mom. You decide that you're going to make some t-shirts. What were the first t-shirts you made? Do you remember?
They were just, I can't even remember the specific design, but I know they were just like matching shirts, like mommy and me type shirts. They were hard to find locally. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to make my own. Right. It was just like, I got this like Cricut machine. I don't know if you've heard of that.
I was going to say, Caitlin, like, how did you even know what you were doing at that point? Like what?
So back then, everyone knows what a Cricut machine is now. They blow up. You can buy them anywhere, like Costco, Michael's, Walmart, wherever. But back then, like there was really not that many people doing this. Like they were just kind of, like if someone had one, you didn't know how they were doing it. Like people messaged me all the time asking me what I was like, what machine I had, and I tell them. But so I basically got mine off Amazon. My husband was like, okay, well, I guess, you need a birthday present, because I started this around my birthday and he was away, and I was like, oh, I saw this little machine that I could like make shirts for me and Blake. That would be fun. So he's like, okay, well, like we'll get you the machine. He's like, but this better not be like some hobby that you're just gonna like do for a couple days and then throw it all away, like he's like, okay, like, go get it then. So I ordered it and I got it, and then I'm not even joking, we made $1 million off of our Cricut machine. Like people are like we now obviously have heavy duty printing equipment from an actual print shop supplier, but back then, like they were just like blown away. They're like, wait, you're doing all of this on a Cricut? Like what? How are you doing thousands and thousands of orders on this machine?
But that you had that one machine and it actually survived that many orders?
$200 machine that we bought off Amazon. And I'm not even joking. I had like a production team in there, like 3 people on a production team. We now have like 10. And they were like printing on a Cricut, and then we had to get a second one, but we retired the Cricut. It's basically on a pedestal in the warehouse. We can never get rid of it. It's like, it made us our first $1 million.
So Caitlin, so I don't know what a Cricut machine is. Tell me what a Cricut machine is.
So it's basically like a little like printer size machine, sits on your desk, and it just cuts like printing materials like vinyl or heat transfer vinyl, or it cuts a number of different materials, but we do all of our shirts primarily with heat transfer vinyl, or CAD it's called now. But it's basically just a little printer that cuts the designs out, and then you press them on with a heat press.
And you just press them on the shirts with a heat press. And where were you getting the shirts? Where was that coming from?
So at first I was just finding like wherever like around town, like Piper's had blank shirts and places like Walmart and things like that. And then I was like, I should probably start, like I was buying that much of it
Right.
that and then also when people started like doing it more, they would start to be really hard to find. So I was like, I need to sign up for like wholesaler, like corporate accounts with
Right.
different companies. And so we found one and they were just like blown away. Like they've actually told us they're the biggest supplier of shirts in Canada, and they're also in North America or in the US, but they've told us that we're actually like the largest like we have the largest inventory of blank shirts in like Atlantic Canada.
Wow.
Crazy. Yeah.
Crazy.
So, Caitlin, I mean, I love how you say that you'd like to say that this was all planned, but it wasn't. How are you keeping up with the growth? Like, how you must have to remain incredibly agile and open to the next step. Tell me about the growth.
Yeah, so I am so excited by growth. I love new opportunities. I'm always exploring like new business opportunities, but what's allowed me to get to this point is basically giving up some control. That's the hardest part when you're a sole proprietor, is thinking you know how to do everything perfectly and that no one can help you. So it took a lot for me to like get over myself and finally hire my first employee, who is actually a friend, who is now my operations manager 4 years later. So she is still there. And then after you hire the first one, the rest come a lot easier, but it's getting over that first hump. So it's really just like trusting, like you have to be able to give up some control and trust that other people can do the job just as good, if not better, like in my case, than I was doing. So I wouldn't be able to have the lifestyle I have now, and explore other business opportunities if I didn't have my huge team of people who I can trust and rely on to keep my business going while I do other things that I want to do. So yeah.
Yeah, Caitlin, but I mean, it takes people in business years and years and years to come to that realization that I've got
Yeah.
to let things go and I can. How did you get to it so quickly? Was it through your education or was it just through
So
your know-how?
well, okay. I feel like I've always been like an entrepreneurial person. My parents were both business people my whole life. I don't like to give too much credit to to school because I feel like school teaches you to work for someone else, if anything.
Yeah.
Whereas like this entrepreneurial spirit is something that is just like already in within you. So I just always kind of had this like feeling that like I make decisions really, really quick. This is something that I've done and like people are like, oh, you're like, impulsive and erratic, and there's like negative sides to making quick decisions. But the way I like view things, I've shifted my mindset to see that any decision I make, I just have to be okay with the outcome either way. As
Yeah.
long as I'm okay with whatever the outcome is, then you can't go wrong. So I follow my gut a lot.
Right.
Sometimes I haven't, and that's like screwed me over at times. But for the most part, I just like kind of do things instinctively. The other thing that I want to give credit to is that I've had a business coach for a lot of having a business, like a lot of the time. So there's a local business coach here, Emily King, who I worked with for like over 2 years. And I love to give her a lot of credit for helping me get out of my own way
Right.
and like helping me remove any like blocks, and because it's all about your mindset, right? Like if you're here like just trying to like follow strategies and do whatever, like that's not always going to propel you into success as quickly as you want, right? So like we haven't even been in business 4 years yet, and we've already went from 5 figures in the first year to multiple 7 figures in the third year. So that happens because I make quick decisions and because I trust myself, but also because I can lean on people when I need to, like business coaches, right? Or my staff or whoever.
But
And
but Caitlin, again, I go back. It takes people years to realize they need a coach. A coach is a fantastic thing, but it takes many people years to realize I need a coach if I'm going to be my best person. How did you know instinctively to get a coach?
so I have like a friend who like kind of introduced me to that world, like a friend who like she does my nails, she's a business person and stuff, but she just was talking to me about this like world of like it's like woo woo, like,
Right.
spiritual stuff, but it's like all mindset. And she was talking to me about it at an appointment one time. And I was like, okay, you're crazy. All you people are crazy. She's like, you have like a multi-million-dollar business idea here. She's like, and she's been a supporter since day one. And she was like, why don't you come with me to the Alt Hotel one day? There's a local coach that's like kind of doing like a free seminar. We can just go and like check it out and listen. And, if it's not for you, it's not for you. She's like, but just so you know what I'm talking about. So I went with her and I was like blown away. I was like, there was like so much emotion and like tears, and all these people were just like so inspired. And so from there, I was like, I need to work with this lady. I need to work with her. She's going to like, and it's not even that she's like all about business strategy. Like I have coaches now for that, like strategy, working with like different accountants, people like that. But she's all about mindset and money blocks. So people get in their own way all the time. They think, I can't afford this. I can't do this. Da, 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 da. Like once you get out of your own head, that's when you start seeing magic happen. So, and like, I guess I'll just kind of like forecast where like I've actually started a business coaching program, which launches on Saturday. So this is my first time doing it because I just saw how much, like, well, everyone saw like how much progress I made and how much success has come from working with someone who helps me get out of my own way. And people started asking me like, how do you do this? And I'm like, well, if you want me to show you, I guess I should probably launch a program.
Right.
So this Saturday that launches.
Yeah, so it's a mastermind.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you guys have heard of masterminds. It's kind of like a hybrid because there is a coaching aspect. So I actually do have my past coach, Emily King, coming on one of the calls. I have my current coach who's up in Toronto, Hannah Khan, she's coming on. And then I've also got another coach that I worked with who helped with social media strategy, stuff like that, who actually helped me launch my coaching business. So she's going to be on. So it's going to be a really valuable mastermind that runs for 6 weeks, but I'm about to have my third baby. So it had to be a 6-week program. I know there's a lot going on in my life. But yeah, so it basically runs for 6 weeks and ends right before I'm due to have a baby.
So, wow. Okay. I don't even know where to go in this conversation. Okay. How many kids you're about to have a third baby? How old are the other kids now?
I have a 2 and a 4-year-old.
So a 2 and a 4-year-old, you're building this business and you're starting a new venture in coaching. How do you juggle it all? Like, I mean, this has to be a question that people ask you.
Yeah.
How do you juggle it?
I have a lot of support. I'm very, very fortunate. My parents are both retired. They sold their business and moved out here to kind of help. So they're here a lot helping with my kids. Like my daughter goes to preschool 5 days a week and my son's starting on Monday, 3 days a week. So, they're in preschool, but also with the pandemic, they've been in and out a lot. So it's really like helpful that my parents are here. They live in St. Mary's Bay, but they come to town a lot to help. And also my husband, so he was in trades, as I mentioned. He was working all over the country, kind of doing that typical Newfoundland, like go away to work while the wife stays home, that lifestyle. And I was like, this is not for me. Like, I'm not a stay-at-home mom. Like, I need to do something more fulfilling. So I said, one of my first goals when I hit a certain amount of income and sales was that I'm going to retire my husband from construction. Right. So he basically, when my son was 6 months old, so a year and a half, no more, like 2 years ago, basically, my husband was like, he's like, I hate this. I'm up in Labrador. It's -40. I'm hanging upside down on a crane doing welding. Like, I hate this. I was like, come home out of it. I don't care. Just come home. We're done. We're done. I make enough money. This is over. And so ever since, he's been like a stay-at-home dad, but we've also just gotten into rental properties for investment properties as another business. So he's now still fulfilling his desire to work with construction and be handy, but he gets to be home with the kids as well. So
What an incredible story.
What I love about that, Alan, is, Caitlin, you're being able to design the life that you desire. And I think that's what everybody should try to aspire to in life, right?
Well, that's why we're here. We're not here to just live and die. We're here to not just survive. We're here to thrive, right? So I'm like, it's really sad to me that some people go their whole lives and they don't ever do anything they want to do. Like whether it's travel, I know people who have never even been on an airplane. I'm like, we travel like once every 2 months, like even through the pandemic. I've like made it happen that I could still fulfill my desires, like regardless of any external circumstances. And I don't want to be insensitive to anyone who's struggling through this, because I know it's a very difficult time. But I've seen the pandemic and taken it as an opportunity to like boost my business. Like we saw massive growth through the pandemic. We just won the Board of Trade Resilience Award actually for that. So, like this is just kind of how you take things that are thrown at you and kind of shift them so that they can be opportunities versus challenges, right?
Yeah.
Well, I agree with you. And Alan, I just want to touch on this. When you talk about, how you started out on a Facebook page, then you created the website, did you not, yourself?
Yeah, I did it on my cell phone in my bed.
Jesus Christ. I mean, that's incredible. Did you have any background in this at all prior to that?
No. No. So like we use Shopify. It's a very user-friendly platform. Anyone who wants to create an e-commerce website can do it. The tools are there. There is so much stuff available to us. It's just like using it, like do it. This is my thing. If I know we're going to get to the advice part of it, but I'm like, just do it is my advice. I'm like, if you're thinking about starting a podcast or a e-commerce website or a business or whatever, just start somewhere, right? Like it doesn't need to be perfect. I actually had no clue how to build a website. So I just logged on there, created a free account, and just like started uploading pictures of shirts that I took on my basement floor with no lighting, no professional photography. We still don't even really use professional photography, and just uploaded it. And then the sales started coming in.
It's so important, right? That trait of just get started. Just get started.
You're ready.
Yeah. Too many people talk themselves out of that first step, just getting started, right?
Yeah.
Well, Alan, Caitlin, our story is somewhat similar in terms of Alan always said to me, Jerry, too many people continue to tune the guitar. Why don't you just go and get the goddamn gig, right? So, and that's what I love about what, Alan and I have been doing, because, with 95 hours of episodes, we frankly, when we started, we didn't know what we were doing, but we know that talking to people like you inspires us. And that is the essence of where I think this province can go. If there's more people out there like you who are just willing to get the damn thing set up and try it, stop worrying about everything, right? I'm getting
what's
fired up here now just talking to you.
Right? Yeah. You're all fired up. You're going to go start a new business, do something.
God forbid my wife will say, oh my God, here he goes again.
But Caitlin, this is inspiring what you're talking about. There will be people that will listen to this and they'll say, you know what? She's right. I just need to get out of my own way and get going. And that sparks the economy, right? When people start businesses and they hire people, that spills into the economy, and it's a really good thing.
And I do want to jump in there because, frankly, not everybody is going to have the success, Caitlin, that you've had. And frankly, I don't think it needs to blow up in terms of sales going through the roof. But I think someone who is very, very entrepreneurial within maybe they are working for someone else, but they have something that they start on the side. I mean, you don't need to bring in millions of dollars if everybody, right? Go ahead.
As long as it's something you enjoy doing, you'll never have to work another day in your life. So I think it's very important that whatever you're doing, whether it makes you millions of dollars or just pays the bills or whatever, as long as it makes you happy and lights you up and makes your life more fulfilling, then you're doing the right thing. Like going to a job, there's nothing worse than going to a job every single day that you hate. And people treat you like crap and you don't like your boss. You hate having to drive to work every morning early. Like you just dread it. Why we were just not put on this earth to live like that. Nope. That is you might as well be 6 feet under, honestly. If I had to live my life like that, I think I'd choose the other option. So, I just would rather, I don't care if this fails. This makes me so happy. And I'm obviously fortunate that all of these business ventures. I have several, like, different business ventures and they've all just been working out because I just expect them to. And I do the actions that lead me to the end goal that I am, trying to get to, whatever my end goal is. And I'm always creating new goals, not just on New Year's, all the time.
Yeah.
I work from the end goal. So where I want to go is what I'm doing today aligned with that,
Do you write your goals down somewhere, or
Yeah.
are they in your head?
No, I love ticking things off. So to me, my goals are like checklists. Now I do have some crazy goals that I believe if you need to have some huge goals. Everyone should have a goal that they really don't know how they're going to attain. They just believe you're going to get there. Like for me, that's running an 8-figure business. So I'm like, $10 million, that's a huge number. But I'm like, I know that'll happen for me one day. I don't know how, but that's not really my problem. It's just, just live as though that's happening, that's coming, that's already mine. That's kind of my strategy, I guess, if you will. So I do everything every day that's in alignment with that. Like, what does an 8-figure CEO do every day?
Yeah.
I do things.
With goals like that, though, you must have some people that have said to you, Caitlin, you're crazy. Like, and have you?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really want to even share about that before. I was kind of like, no, people are going to think I'm an idiot or that I'm out of touch with reality. And maybe I am. You know what? I think all of the big goals, they need to be illogical. Otherwise, what are you working towards? They need to be so big. And so that's why I feel like, I am where I am in life. I'm 28 years old and all of this stuff has happened so quickly because I feel like I don't do what other people do. Right. I think from, where when I come in contact with inspiring people who have reached goals that I have, I don't ask them what they're doing. I ask them how they think. How does your brain work? What types of, not what's your strategy? That's not really actually what you should be asking, in my opinion. I'm just how do you think? And that's kind of how I get there a lot quicker.
Picking up on that point, how do you think? How do you think?
I believe I've shifted my mindset a lot. I used to be very negative. I'd call it realistic, but I call it negative now. So just being a lot more positive and really just seeing things as opportunities. Things pop up all the time in business that are curveballs, and you're just oh my God, most people would curl up into a ball and be I'm done with this. This is too much stress. The world is falling apart on me. But to me, I'm okay, solutions only. We only have room for solutions. I don't know what it is at this point. I don't care what it is, as long as, we figure this out, and we will. So I like to just see challenges as opportunities. I don't dwell on things for too long. I let myself feel an emotion. I allow that. We're humans. We're here for human experience. But I don't dwell on that for too long. I remove the emotion then from whatever it is the situation is, and I make the decision quickly and with conviction. And then I just prepare myself for whatever the outcome is, that I'm okay with it. So it's really just get out of your own head. Stop attaching emotion to things. Stop acting like everything is a big deal. I could go on forever about how life is an experience. We're here to enjoy it. But, that's how I think. You can't be a victim in every situation or in any situation, because that's a really not a good place to be.
Right. Yeah, no, and that's a great way to think, for sure. And you're right. All of the people that are having great success, if you look at the Elon Musks and of the world, they think that way. They think differently than everybody else. They see the opportunities where everybody else says, no, it can't be done, or there's just too many roadblocks in the way. And they go on to create wonderful things because they tend to be very optimistic people, very positive in their thoughts. I think that's fascinating. So I'm curious now about specifically Saltwater Designs. Where do the inspiration for the expressions and stuff come from? Where does that come from?
So obviously, I grew up in Alberta, so that's not something, the only person speaking like that was my dad. So I'm okay, this man has all these kinds of crazy sayings. We don't even, know what half of them mean. But when I moved out here and I was hearing it all the time, I was this is so cool. So I didn't start out making shirts with Newfoundland sayings. I actually just was making custom shirts, like shirts that whatever anyone wanted. I'd have my own original designs, but then I'd have things that people would be like, could you put this on a shirt? Like, could you do that? And I'd be like, yeah, sure. So people started asking, like, oh, could you put like Saucy on a shirt? Could you put Crooked as Sin on a shirt? Like, my husband is so crooked. I would love that for him. And so I started doing that. And then everyone's like, where did you get that? Where did you get that? And then it was word of mouth. People were seeing it everywhere. And then they were like, just like sending them to me. And then I was like, okay, I got to make this like a regular thing. I just need to have them ready to go because I'm selling them quicker than I can even make them. So that's kind of where. And then myself and Tierney, my first hire, my friend, we started doing the markets all around Newfoundland and traveling and having like fun with that. And so obviously we would put like the shirts on display and have the sayings, and people would just like die. Like they would have such a fun time, like looking at all the sayings, being like, oh my God, that one's so funny. I could think of someone who could use that. And it's just like, yeah, that's kind of where it came from. People asked for it. And then that's where I just had to, fill the need, I guess. No one was really making trendy Newfoundland saying shirts. Like you could, of course, go to like a museum shop or a souvenir shop and get something with Newfoundland or something on it. But in terms of it being like trendy that Newfoundlanders will like wear on a daily basis, that wasn't really on the go back then.
No.
Caitlin, just thinking about you with that Cricut machine at this point growing the business, like, were you working 24 hours a day in the beginning or what?
I was working a lot. It was a lot. Like I was like, because I had a baby, right? Like a 7-month-old baby. So she's on my hip. I'm trying to like feed her, do all the things. And like I was 24 years old. So like young, like nobody else was kind of going through the same thing that I was, that I knew of. So I was there with the ironing board because I didn't have a fancy heat press at that point. I didn't have all these tools that obviously make the job easier now. I was there with the ironing board, like ironing, and then someone would be banging on the door, picking up an order. I'd be trying to like package them all up and make them look nice. Like I worked a lot of hours at the beginning.
Well, on that point, how do you reconcile the fact that you're building the life that you desire, but you're also working so much? That I think can be a challenge for a lot of entrepreneurs. Just talk a little bit about that.
So obviously there was challenges back then, and obviously I wasn't in the same mindset that I am now. So there was days that I really wanted to just like throw in the towel and be like, oh my gosh, like a regular job would be so nice where someone just tells me what to do all day and I can clock out after 8 hours and not worry about customers like, asking about their orders and, being out of stock of this color and like all these problems that come with it. But that was like really short-lived. Like once I realized that this could be easy and enjoyable, because it was enjoyable when I first started, when it was a hobby. Obviously I wouldn't have started if it wasn't enjoyable. But then there was a small period where I was like, this is like hard. This is not fun. This is exhausting. But then I was like making tons of money. So that was hard to be like, and then I was like, okay, but if I just get some help, if I just have some people, help me, yes, it sucks because I'll have to give some money away and I'm used to all this, like just coming to me by myself. But then I was like, okay, this can be easier and we can make more money if I have help, right? Because how can one person run a $1 million business from her basement? Like that's not even, I mean, it's possible, but you would literally kill yourself doing it and it wouldn't be any fun. Right. So I now have fun with my job. Like I go into the store, I go into the production room in the warehouse and stuff. And that's fun now. Whereas like when I'm doing absolutely everything, that makes it not fun, but it is part of entrepreneurship. It just is, right?
But it's amazing though. Like it's almost like you're in the quicksand, you're in the weeds, but you pulled yourself out of it and created a business that is fun.
Yeah. So there's, I don't know, have you guys heard of the book called The EMyth? No? Okay. Well, my business coach, Emily, my past business coach, she recommended I read that book. And so I just got the audiobook and listened to it several times. But it basically, the gist of it is that you cannot be the technician, the manager, and the owner of a business all at the same time. It's going to eventually fall apart. So until you realize that, you're going to be hustling and grinding, hating your life, trying to do everything all at once. And you can't do a good job at each task then because you're just trying to keep your head above water. So you're literally surviving, not thriving. So once you realize that you cannot be all three of those things and you just pick one, like which one are you going to be? Are you going to be a technician? If so, then give up the dream of being the manager and the owner. Just work for someone else. If you want to be the manager and you just want to manage people, you want to make a comfortable salary and tell people what to do, whatever, then do that. But don't think you can do the actual work and don't think you can own the business. So I was like, well, no, I'm the owner, I'm the CEO, I'm the founder of this company, and making shirts all day and managing people is not in alignment with that. So I gave that up, and now everything runs like a well-oiled machine.
Now, Caitlin, you talk about the team you've built. You talk about the amount of staff. Tell me about those people that you have working for you.
Yeah. Okay. So I have quite a few people who have been there since we had our first store. Young girls who, were in high school or college. They're still with us. Like Tierney obviously is my OG. She's still there. She's operations manager. She takes care of all the customer service, like back end stuff, and she does an amazing job. I have my assistant Natasha, who I recently hired on through the pandemic, actually, which is funny. Like, yeah, you need an assistant when we're all working from home. Anyway, she does a fabulous job. And then we have like, oh my God, there's 40 people on the team. So that's really hard. But I have like the warehouse, which has like 10 people over there. That has grown the quickest, I think. We have Crystal, our warehouse manager over there, and she basically hired all the people over there. And she has this like amazing team of people who just love being there. Like the morale is insane. I always said I wanted to create a company that I would love to work for. I've worked at other businesses where I'm like the manager or the boss is just not very nice. They don't care. They don't listen to your ideas. And so I said I would never do that. Like anytime my team has ideas, I'm like, I want to hear them. Give me your ideas. You have $1 million ideas. They're just waiting to come out. And, I have people in there, like there's a girl, Ashley. She started and was one of my first employees at the store when I had the old location. And she's been a sales associate for a couple of years. And then we realized that she had this hidden talent of graphic design. So I was like, you know what, Ashley, let's like see what you can do. And now she designed all the artwork for the Mummers Festival. She's like a graphic design student in college, but she's doing like all of this amazing graphic design work for these companies and collaborations that we're working with. And she just like is thriving over there because she like never really piped up and said, I don't want to be a sales associate, never told me she wanted to be a graphic designer. We just kind of like, someone showed me her Instagram page and I was like, okay, she has talent. She needs to go there. So now she designs all kinds of shirts for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it must be a dream come true for her as well.
Yeah, it's perfect for her because now, like when she finishes college, if she wants to stay with us and grow, and obviously our company is growing, so she might just have that opportunity to stay on with us if that's what she wants to do.
Caitlin, I've interacted with a lot of your employees, and what I can say is that there's just they exude positive energy, and the energy is just palpable, and ideas flowing.
Yeah, well, the sales team, right? That's who you guys, who Jerry, you would be speaking to a lot with marketing and things like that. So like Chad and Daniil, they were new additions this year in June. And I was like, do I need a sales team? And then I was like, yes, I need a sales team. I was like, I really like fully believe in collaboration with other businesses. Like we cannot come from this idea that there's like competition everywhere. Like me taking a breath of air doesn't take any air away from you. So being in this whole like, competition. Yeah. Write it down, Jerry. No,
I'm writing it down.
Yeah. I know. But being collaborative is what is another reason that I think I was propelled into success. When the first store, which was Unicornio Studio downtown on Water Street, decided to take us on as and carry our products in their store, that was like the start of like, all the collaborations and partnerships that we've had with like hundreds of businesses, local businesses. And we've been able to help each other kind of like thrive through the hardship of like the pandemic and things like that. So I think, that's something else that I need to give a lot of credit to. But yeah, having the sales team, that was a whole new idea that I was like, do I need to pay people to do sales? Absolutely, I do. Chad and Daniil are amazing. They have like brought in so much business, so much new corporate partnerships, so many new collaborations with not-for-profits, different charities, things like that. And we've been able to like help other businesses as well with whatever they need, whether it's, donations or corporate wear or stuff for sports teams, all kinds of things. And I just love being able to have that impact on my community.
Oh, Caitlin, fantastic. And I've heard you mention a number of times through the conversation, mindset. You keep repeating that word. And at the beginning, you said, oh, that's just woo woo stuff. And tell me, like, what do you do to settle your mind and to concentrate? Is there a technique you have?
Yeah, I meditate a lot.
Okay.
Meditation is something that everyone needs. And if you don't have time for meditation, then you really need to meditate. I meditated this morning for 20 minutes and I woke up and I was like, okay, ready to go. Like Danielle on my sales team, she meditates all the time. We kind of keep each other accountable because it's so important to be part of your routine. Like successful people, like salespeople, especially, really like who need to work on mindset to do their job. Meditation is huge. And if you look at a lot of like successful people out there, they're going to tell you that they probably take some time to meditate or whatever they call it. That sounds like a crazy religious, spiritual monk Buddha thing. Yeah. I'm like, I'm not meditating. That is weird. But now I'm just like, no, just shut your brain off for a second. Well, that's not really even what it is. It's more like letting thoughts come through, acknowledging that they're there and then letting them pass, but just really like slowing down the mind so that you can get clarity on what you need to do to get where you want to go.
Yeah.
It's
And
funny,
I
Caitlin. Well, just sorry, Alan. On that whole topic of say self-help, the
Yeah.
woo-woo you call it. There's so many people poo-poo that.
Yeah.
I personally have been in sales for 30 years, and those books, biographies and just any information. Like I wrote down that EMyth book. I can't wait to read that. I personally have gotten so much out of it. When you're in sales, you get more rejection than you get positivity. So every day can be really tough. But it's so inspiring to hear you talk about, taking that information in and being able to transmit it into a culture, a business, and employing people. I think at 28 to have that many people employed, it's so inspiring to be in your company on this call right now.
Thank you. Yeah,
uh,
no, it's something that I like drill into my, not drill, that sounds bad and aggressive, but to my team. I'm like, they're very aware of like my vision and the fact that not everybody's going to align with that. And sometimes people need to come and go. But I am like remaining on the path of my vision and everyone must align with that. My company, everything we do needs to align with that. Like whether like working with say like Newfound marketing or like hiring a new accounting firm and like doing all these things, all of that is in alignment with my vision. So like everything I do is with intention. So, my staff and my team are very, very aware of that. And so there's just so much positivity. Like when you throw like the majority of them are females, right? And young females, when you throw like 30 young girls into a workplace, typically people are going to expect some type of cattiness or like conflict, but we don't have that. Like we really don't have that. And anytime there's like a sign of that from like someone, like if it happens to pop up very rarely, that person just naturally falls off the wagon.
Yeah.
It's just something happens where it's like, okay, you don't belong here, or whatever. And then everything just goes back to like the equilibrium and the peace that I like have worked so hard to like cultivate basically.
Caitlin, I want to stay on the meditation thing for a second, if I could, because I meditate myself. I try to do it twice every day for 20 minutes, and I find that if I miss it, my day is off. I can't logically I can't get through my checklist that day. I do. In fact, many days I can't even create the checklist properly. I don't even know what needs to go on it that day unless I do that. And so I want to explore that because the way you describe everything, it is fast moving and it's turbulent. How quickly do you get to that state where you can start thinking clearly?
So for me, I have to be very intentional with when I can meditate. My day is very busy. I have all kinds of things happening all the time between children and businesses and things like that. So as long as it happens at like in the morning is when it's like most effective for me. But it's like when you start your day off on that note where you're already just like in a really clear mindset, it's like very few things can really throw you off.
100%.
You know, it's like, okay, I'm like zen, I'm feeling good, I feel accomplished, because it's like one of those things on your morning routine that, you know, you've achieved, like brushing your teeth. If I didn't brush my teeth for the day, I'm going to feel totally thrown off. I'm gonna like, don't come near me. Like, you know, so it's like one of those things where like you just add it into your morning routine, and it also feels like self-care. It's like, you know, you get to lay in bed for an extra 20 minutes and, or whatever it is, sit in a chair, and, you know, before the rest of you like wakes up, like your mind is just like getting on the right track to helping you make decisions and having a smooth day.
Right.
Right. So like carving out time whenever it is, you know, and it doesn't need to be 20 minutes, 5 minutes is great, you know, just something so that it's like you have that time with yourself, like to reconnect with, you know, I guess like your higher being, whatever that is. That's again the woo woo thing. But, you know, it's something that I think we all need to just take time to slow down. Everybody's so busy all the time, no matter if we're working from home or not. Actually, I feel like people more need that because they're working from home. People feel stressed out being from home. And so, yeah, just carving out time for that really helps keep your head level. And then when things get thrown at you, you're already in a really great headspace to deal with it. Yeah. So, you know,
I think it's fantastic. You know, Caitlin, you've had a great journey. I mean, wow, like you're from Yellowknife all the way back to Newfoundland and to build this. It's incredible. We often ask our guests on Gale Force Winds to leave the audience with a piece of advice. What would that look like for you? You're having great success. What would a piece of advice be?
So I've already kind of said this, but basically like to just do it and start before you're ready. So you don't need to have it all figured out. That's actually like the point. Like you don't know what everything, you know, how everything's going to go, and not everything is always like fully in your control. There's external circumstances, but as long as you make that first step, take that first move, whatever it is, towards your goal, then you can't go wrong, right? Just like start before you're ready. Everyone has these things that they're like, when I get more money, when I have more time, when the kids grow up, when I, you know, buy a bigger house and have more space for an office or whatever, you know, then I'll do this, then I'll do that. Then I'll quit my job like that I hate so much. Like, you know, do it now, like do the scary stuff now. Like that's where you will see growth and expansion. Like I've done so many things out of my comfort zone over this past, well, since I've had a business, everything was out of my comfort zone. Like paying a lease on a store that's like 4 times your mortgage is scary, you know, hiring all these people and like not knowing, like not having the money right in front of me and not knowing how I'm going to pay them all the time was scary. But it's always worked. It's always worked out. The money's always shown up when I needed it. You know, things have always just worked out, but it's because I've only allowed that, like I've only allowed for things like to work out. I'm only available for solutions. However that needs to happen, you know, we'll make it happen. So yeah, just start before you're ready. Do what you want to do now.
Jerry, your thoughts?
I honestly don't know where to start, but I'll start at one place. The fact that you're 28 and I can't, you know, age is just a state of mind sometimes. But, you know, when you say, I have a bunch of quotes here. I don't do what other people do. Well, that is very obvious. You know, I've had a business bent to me for a long time, but to do what you've done at 28 is exemplary. Giving up control, the word control, trusting. One thing you said about your businesses, they're working out because I expect them to. Meditation, like the other thing, my favorite quote probably is this: a breath of air doesn't take any air from someone else, or my breath of air doesn't take any air from you. Like, and then of course, start before you're ready. Caitlin, like these are sayings that could be on a shirt. Many of them, you know, we should be putting these on shirts.
Maybe I will.
Do the scary stuff now. It's incredible to have an hour with you. You know, I wish you all the best in everything that you're going to do going forward. This mastermind group that you're going to get together, they're in for a treat. I look forward to posting this episode in a couple of weeks' time. It's just inspiring. You know, if someone watching this gets a kernel of inspiration to go and do something and then make a few dollars on the side, that's going to enhance this province. So just thanks for spending the time with us today.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
Well, what another wonderful edition of Gale Force Wins. It's rare that you get to talk to such a wonderful, exciting entrepreneur that is doing amazing things and living their dreams and taking so many people along with them, taking a team of people along on their journey with them. There's so much inspiration in our conversation today, Caitlin. So many people will look at this and they're going to say, I'm doing it. I'm going to just get up off the couch, or I'm going to make that first step, and it will be scary, but if I know that I'm going to succeed, I will succeed. Your optimistic approach on life and your business is so inspirational to me. I can tell you that I want to go do something after I leave this. And your understanding of how you need to settle your mind in order to come out of each day at your very best. And to think that you're doing all of this while you're raising 2 children and another one on the way. I mean, it is just such a remarkable thing. And I always leave the podcast, the audience, with my own piece of advice. And quite frankly, Caitlin, the world needs more Caitlin Noseworthy. Keep it up.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Gale Force Wins. That's Gale Force Wins, WINS.com.